thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, September 18th. And today is it's National PawPaw Day, you guys.
Is that like an old man like me, PawPaw, or?
I think it's spelled P-A-W, so I'm guessing that it's something to do with pets.
Dog thing.
Yeah,
okay.
it's I'm pretty sure it's a dog thing. You know what I mean?
That's right. Celebrate Dale Day.
Oh, it's not? It's not, Jenny Beth? What is it, Jenny?
Google it, Jason.
I'm a PawPaw.
You know, Jenny, I'm trying to do 30 other things right now, and so you're not helpful at all.
We're
Well,
crossing that
shit.
rainbow bridge again, folks. Here we go.
Google it, Jenny, and educate him.
Here we go.
Well, I just know in the
I'll pull
South,
it up.
usually
Give me
they
a
spell
second.
pawpaw like that for people's grandfather, so it's probably about somebody's grandfather.
I'm a PawPaw.
Mm-hmm.
Nice understanding, PawPaw, I might add. Don't care what my grandkids say.
I don't know. It's got a picture of a food. National
Of a food.
PawPaw Day is the day, the 3rd September, the great forgotten American fruit. Take a bite of a creamy mango banana flavored pawpaw to celebrate.
Well, look a fucking there.
Mystery intensifies.
Sorry, Jenny. I can't have you cussing on the show.
No, I forgot about that.
I don't care if you forgot about it or not.
Well, keep it rolling, Jason.
All right, perfect. It's also National HIV/AIDS and Aging Awareness Day today, you guys.
AIDS and aging together?
Yeah, I thought that was weird. It's weird, right, Dale?
Yeah. I mean, I'm old, but never had HIV.
Yeah. It's also National Cheeseburger Day. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Paradise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you Jimmy Buffett fans?
Yes, and what about Bob's Big Boy?
Okay.
All right.
Lots
Fair
of
enough.
cheeseburgers out there.
All right. In and out, you know what I mean? All that, White Castle. And last but not least, it is also the Air Force's birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Yes. Wheels up. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we're going to kick this thing off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their lives back on track after they've been victims of the track. Coming in like Casper the Friendly Ghost, it is Jenny Beth Dills.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So my story is short and sweet because that's what we do over here. Maryland's Court of Special Appeals has weighed in on the state's Cannabis Reform Act in a case brought by the Maryland Hemp Coalition. Under law, certain cannabis licenses are required to sell hemp-derived psychoactive products. A lower court had blocked the state from enforcing that licensing requirements, saying the law might unlawfully create a monopoly. But today's appellate opinion reverses that ruling. It finds that the licensing scheme is constitutional. the court rejected arguments that the state was preempted under federal law, saying Maryland did submit a regulatory hemp plan to the USDA back in 2020. The court also held that neither the use of application fees nor a lottery system in the licensing process violate state constitutional provisions. Even the social equity program, including zip code-based benefits, was upheld. The result, the injunction is lifted. The state may enforce the law. The Hemp Coalition's challenge in large part fails. So we'll bring you a full reaction from lawmakers, industry stakeholders, and advocates coming soon. But for now, boo-hoo. Sounds like the Hemp Coalition's going to be mad because they tried to say, hey, we shouldn't have to run like a regular business, but you do. I would love to hear Dale's opinion on this. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, Dale, but it's kind of interesting.
No, but it's state law, Ginny Beth, and there's the interstate commerce part of it from the federal level is the hemp and making an application with the USDA for hemp. That satisfies the federal part of it. The rest of it's state. And I'm not familiar with their constitution, but, you know, this is a business. And I think we've talked about hemp and how it's basically everywhere now after the Farm Bill. And people are voting with their pocketbooks, tell, you know, lawmakers that we want this, okay? It needs to be run like a legitimate business. And none of that should be a surprise to them. I mean, every state has the ability under the 10th Amendment to do their own iteration of their hemp rules.
Right, and I do appreciate the fact that at least Maryland submitted their hemp regulatory framework to the USDA, whose job it is to regulate this. They're not doing a great job, but whatever. So, I mean, the state has said since 2020, here's how we're going to regulate this. If you want to play in the hemp market here, here's how you have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they have that right. Those are traditional police powers when you're talking about state law, which is what this is. And that's what the 10th Amendment, that's why, you know, the Constitution wasn't going to be passed until the states agreed to put in the Bill of Rights. One of them is, you know, the states hold all the power. We give a specific amount to the federal government. And when it's not in that specific amount, the states do it. And this is an example. Every state's going to have their own rules for hemp. Mm-hmm. And they do. And they're schizophrenic. They don't make a lot of sense. But hey, if you're going to operate in a particular state, even when it becomes legal through interstate commerce, each state's going to have the right to have their own set of rules. So, you know, get used to it. Not going away.
Agreed. And I think the hemp businesses should realize that they've, you know, skated along pretty nicely since the hemp bill passed. And it's time to step up and be a legitimate business that's regulated the same. You still get to sidestep 280E. Is that not correct? I mean, that's a huge plus. So just regulate the states. Let's go.
I think you guys are way over trying to play your hand. The reality is that they should not be over-regulated, and I don't understand why everyone is always calling for all of this massive regulation on a plant-based product. It is totally ridiculous.
Okay,
that's reality. You know,
it's totally ridiculous. And I agree. I agree that the regulated market is totally overregulated. But just because that market is totally overregulated doesn't mean to overregulate a whole nother market too.
Jason, in the testing world, though, a huge concern is that unregulated product is massively contaminated. There needs to be something to be done about that. There was a point made.
I get that, Nate. I get that. But you know what? The reality of it is this, is not every single American consumes cannabis, but every single American consumes food. And until we implement the same type of testing on our food products that every single American eats, it doesn't make any sense to be over-regulating cannabis in the way that it does.
I don't think over-regulating is as much of an idea as just sensible regulation. Sensible regulation suggests that anything that is packaged or sold at a retail place is not contaminated, is safe for you, does not have something that could have been easily discovered, that has already been established that it'll hurt or kill you.
I'm not opposed to that. And to be
able to say that that needs to be a part of it. I mean, there was a point made about a month ago where, hey, if you have a gas station burrito and then you have some gastrointestinal issues from your gas station burrito, maybe you kind of learned a lesson that day. Maybe the world goes goes forward. But still, there is such a huge presence of contaminants, aspergillus, of various types of pesticides, and they all get into untested product because the reality is the majority of cannabis on planet Earth is contaminated. If you grew cannabis at your house or in your, business, and this goes for everybody listening, the odds that it would pass the safety panels that I'm familiar with is pretty close to zero. That is correct. If you grow something in your backyard and you only do what you're supposed to do to it, the odds that it will pass state testing are close to zero. There is always going to be something wrong unless you have systems that are attuned to staying away from these contaminants. And in an absence of that, that's where my concerns are. I think Stone's as well.
This is the thing, bro. I think people are trying to complain for no based reason. And if basically what you're saying that humans should just starve to death, Nate.
No, I'm saying that your food that should be available to you should have a level of satisfactory testing and safety behind it.
I agree with that.
And that's been figured out well before yours or my lifetimes. That's not, I feel, really up for debate. If it's a question of regulation, well, I agree that things shouldn't be overregulated, but there's certain things that sort of belong. There's not very many people in the public that are saying this dang health department, all they do is cause troubles. No, they cause troubles for troublemakers.
Well, let me put it to you like this, Nate. Until I can go to a grocery store and pick up a tomato and scan a QR code and it send me to the COA, it's ridiculous for weed.
I think it should be available for everything, and if people ask for it, it can be. Technology certainly has caught up to that point, and it's being used on much stupider things. So, yeah, I'm all for that last point. Go for it.
Nick Bradley in the chat, he's like, you can wash a lot of the contaminants off of food, Jason. And yeah, that is somewhat true, but there is a lot of contaminants that you cannot wash off of food that are stuck there. And a lot of these things are put on by the food manufacturing companies that throw these different films on top of the food to make them last longer and more shelf stable.
The word is systemic. Sorry to interrupt, Jason, but that's what you're looking at. Anything systemic is going to be in the plant tissue in this, extreme case, or in this Venn diagram center between what we're eating and what we're smoking, right? So what you've got right there is the opportunity for some level of regulation would be my point, just to keep things safe enough. Films, sure, that gets rid of some of the problems, at least the ones you can see, but shit that's inside of plant tissue, and especially if you're calling for things in the food world to be tested with the same level of extremity as what we see in the cannabis world, right? Fairness, right? Anyhow, that's, I think, a good point and worth bringing up. Make it completely transparent. Do bear in mind that the presence of things, too, is dictated by what kind of technology is testing them. Certain types of technology can only see the presence of things if there's large amounts, and their report back will be that there's zero if there isn't large amounts. The type of testing we're used to seeing in cannabis tests extremely fine amounts in the low dozens of parts per billion, oftentimes. And so when you obviously no comparison there, but when you look at it, the level of what we say with certainty too, just to kind of bring this all into light, what we say is certain isn't necessarily what food industry says would be certain as well, because they use different instrumentation that's tuned differently. And that's all part of that same logical argument. So in short, I stick to what I was originally saying, but you do have certain points, I feel, because of the details and the nuance that exist, and especially the contrast between the industries.
You don't live in an ideal world, though. That's a problem.
Yeah.
If you went to the grocery store and subjected food there to the testing required in cannabis, you would see just how schizophrenic these rules are. And you can't fix that in the short term. Yeah, I know. But, pointing it out doesn't fix the problem, because laissez-faire capitalism proved a long time ago it kills people. So we're going to have regulations. The question is, are they reasonable? Are they accountable and actually accomplishing what they want? And if not, get rid of them stop throwing money at them. And that's where we're stuck right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm irritated as hell at the layers and layers of regulations because it kills the industry. And it's especially upsetting that you look around, other industries like the nutraceutical industries. Nobody requires a COA for you to go to the health store and buy whatever. Okay.
Yep.
It's just, you're stuck with it.
Yep.
Okay. And you can't make sense out of it. And it's a topic for discussion right now, but they're trying to control cannabis and hemp still like we're talking about, drugs that are going to ruin Western society.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that's horseshit, but we have to get past that mentality, and we don't have an ideal world. And it's not going to get better for a minute because every place I look is just controversy.
Yeah.
There's no set of rules that anybody's looking at as uniform rules. They're just fighting and pushing and pulling and calling names and still pointing fingers. And it's like, we're just trying to run a business here. It doesn't have to be this hard, but here it is.
Yep. Fair enough. Any final words, Jenny Beth, on this? Is she there? She disappeared? She Caspered out? All right, well, we're on that.
Looking up PawPaw.
Yeah, she's looking at PawPaw. Yeah, she's getting some mango in. All right, we're going to go to our commercial, and we are going to be right back. And we are back, you guys. We are back. And man, do I have a great story for you guys today. And this is a follow-up story, you guys, because a judge denies a bid to block the fired leader's return to the Cannabis Commission, you guys. That's right. An appeals court judge said late Wednesday, that was yesterday, that Treasurer Deborah Goldberg has not shown that she's likely to succeed in her appeal of a court order restraining Shannon O'Brien as chair of the Cannabis Control Commission, clearing a path for O'Brien's return. Judge Gloria Tan denied Goldberg's motion for an order that would prevent O'Brien's from returning to her job as chair of the CCC, the job that Goldberg appointed O'Brien to in September of 2022, suspended her from in September of 2023, and fired her from in September 24. While the treasurer appeals the Superior Court ruling that went in O'Brien's favor, they said in a quote, "After careful review of the papers submitted, including the judge's comprehensive memorandum of decision and order, the defendant has not demonstrated, as she must, a likelihood of success on appeal. Accordingly, the motion for a stay is denied," Tan wrote in the 3-paragraph order. Joe Barlin, a spokesperson for O'Brien, said Goldberg should stop her wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars in a continued attempt to smear Shannon O'Brien's excellent reputation. The treasurer has spent over $1 million on private lawyers and now is spending valuable resources from the state attorney general's office in prolonging this appeal. It's time for the Treasurer Goldberg to stop her fleecing of taxpayer dollars, he continued. And Andrew Napolitano, spokesperson for Goldberg, said, "We are receiving our options and haven't made a decision as to our next step." And Goldberg said the Superior Court judge who ruled in favor of O'Brien last month got it wrong and argued that preventing O'Brien's return to work was necessary in order to avoid serious disruption to the ongoing work of the Cannabis Control Commission, he said. If an immediate stay is not granted, leadership at the agency will be in a state of turmoil. Further, there will be potential confusion as to the lines of authority at the commission while this matter is on appeal. Assistant Attorney General John Hitt, who had represented Goldberg's office in the matter, wrote in a filing this month that O'Brien's term as chair of the CCC is set to run through August 31st of 2027, you guys. But now sounds like she's been taken out like the last bag of trash, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Wow, I must say I'm a bit confused as to who's suing who for what and why.
Okay, so let me kind of rewind it. So this lady, she was the director, treasurer.
And this lady, what's her name?
Goldberg
or O'Brien?
Goldberg. Yes,
she was the treasurer.
Yeah, I thought she was the director of the CCC, but she could have been the treasurer as well. Let's see. Judge Gloria Tan denied Goldberg's motion for an order that would prevent O'Brien from returning. Yeah, okay. O'Brien was the treasurer, and Goldberg was the lady that was running the CCC. Yes.
Sounds like she won at the trial level, or where we have a judge making a decision one-on-one. Sounds like she won there. Okay.
I think she lost. I think she lost there, and then she appealed the decision, Dale. And then this is the answer of the appeal. Am I wrong?
Okay. Well, but you're saying she. They're both she's.
They're both she's. Yes.
She are you talking about? Treasurer's name is O'Brien. Goldberg is the boss. Okay.
Yep.
And it sounds like O'Brien won at the trial level, was told you get to go back, and Goldberg's appealing that and wanted to stay of allowing her to go back. And standard there is you've got to show the judge that you're likely to succeed on the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stay. So it sounds like O'Brien gets to go back and be the treasurer where Goldberg tried to remove her, if I'm understanding right, because it gets complicated. But at the bottom line, somebody lost their ass at trial level, and the court won't stop that from being implemented while you go through appeal. I think that's what I'm hearing here. Simplify this if I can.
Yeah, I don't think so, because they've already put in a new interim director, and Goldberg was trying to get her position back. And let's see. This article really doesn't go into that, but I remember from past stories, she was trying to get her position back, Dale. This Goldberg, yeah, Goldberg was trying to get her position back, and then she filed an appeal. And to my understanding, this is the results of that appeal.
Okay. Well, it gets complicated.
Yes.
Okay.
Apparently,
These
right?
people have to know what, because we're not looking at the pleadings. And from my standpoint as an attorney, I want to see who sued who for what. What did the court decide about that? And then now we're in appeal. The message I'm hearing is you don't have enough there to stop us from implementing the trial court's decision. And it, typically it sounds like a shitty employment maneuver on somebody's part, and they didn't get what they wanted out of it. And I've been told, no matter, this is what's going to happen. And that's, part of the employment administrative law process.
Yes, it is. It is definitely is. It's a shit sandwich, Dale, going around up there in Massachusetts. This lady already been replaced. She got mad that she was getting replaced and got fired. So she filed this appeal. She lost, and then she appealed that decision. And then this is basically where it brings us today. And I do believe that the treasurer ended up getting fired through that process as well. So that's kind of
but people getting fired, for cause should not be a major deal for people. Political reasons, we're finding out right now that getting canned for political reasons we're going to fight about that for a while. But I don't know that that's brand new. You're not doing what I want you to do. You're out of here, and let the courts figure it out. They're not exempt from those same kind of problems, and we're watching them across the country now.
Yeah.
Where politics is stepping in, and the courts are going to have to, where we stop it and where we allow it to go.
Any thoughts on this, you two, Stone or Nate?
I don't, but I just wanted to know when did you take up do an impression.
Oh, bro, yeah. I do voices, bro. I do voices, Stone. I thought you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that, Stone. I'm glad, really excited to hear that. Really excited to hear that.
You never know when they're going to pop up, so that's half the fun, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they represent the voices in his head. That's what we're talking about here.
What was that, Stone?
Voiceovers.
Yeah, I'm here for it, Stone. I'm here for it, Stone. Let me know, buddy. Well, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, they make your breath stink on top of other things stink. But he is honest, and he's unconcerned with your opinion, public opinions, and everyone else's opinion for that matter. He will show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope, and that's right, is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can find him now at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Crazy Tio Loco here again. And since Jenny's on, it's your favorite full of shiticus. My story today comes out of Marijuana Moment. It's Kyle Yeager, and the headline is Legalizing Medical Marijuana is Linked to Reduced Use of Tobacco and Amphetamines. New international study shows. Now, this is a theme that I've talked about multiple times, is that the more that we gather what appears to be reasonable, logical information about people who use this plant, the more we see that it helps with substance abuse of other issues, of other substances. This is about tobacco. We're seeing now there's a part of this is about CBD's effect on people that are struggling with alcoholism or alcohol use disorder. Addiction is now pejorative. You can't use it anymore. But what we're finding, and this is a statistical analysis from 20 countries it was written by people out of Germany and Lebanon. And so we're clear, Bekaa Valley in Lebanon produces some high quality landrace cannabis strains. So, they've been doing this for a minute. And they're noticing, Molly and I noticed 25 years ago, that if people have access to cannabis, then they use less other substances that are psychoactive. Tobacco is a target we've had for a long time, and I don't know if it's the smoking that's the correlation that satisfies some of these people's needs for smoking. If it's the systemic effects, I don't know. But anything that we can do which brings down the use of tobacco is good for a personal and public health reasons. That's a good sign from this. Also, methamphetamine. This is a scourge upon, society. It didn't exist traditionally. Okay, this comes from the ephedra plant, and it's a synthetic type of narcotic. It's not like opium or cocaine falls into some of the same categories. This was manufactured out of the ephedra plant, and what it does to human beings is difficult to counter. So anything that can be done to help people, diminish their cravings, deal with their methamphetamine use disorder is a positive thing. Now, these are correlations, and what that means, it's not proof. Okay, these are statistical statements that we need to go further investigate. But it seems that as cannabis is more legally available, people are using less tobacco and less methamphetamine. And for alcohol, we're seeing the effects here in the United States. This next generation coming up, unlike my generation, they don't want to drink as much. And it looks like they're willing to use cannabis and cannabinoids as maybe one of their first line drugs. That was my generation that was, taking amphetamine, slamming heroin, drinking like fish. It's a better sign. But I think the hopeful sign here, and now it requires some attention to careful research, is can we help people with these disorders? And these are substance use disorders, addictions, if you will. Move away from that from a personal and public health standpoint, the use of cannabis. And this needs to be looked into specifically, but these stats need to be brought forward for the policymakers to understand that there are positive benefits to bringing cannabis to people. It isn't like it's all negative and, it's going to ruin society. No, quite the contrary. These traditional substances humans have been using since before you could write seem to be helpful. And if they weren't, I suspect that humans before double-blind testing would have figured out shit's bad and stopped using it. Because that's really what we're talking about here. This is not the CDC doing double-blind studies. This is looking at what people do with their checkbooks to buy things, what they're not doing, and the medical community's paying attention to. This is important stuff to counter Kevin Sabets out there, who their emotional truth is that this is going to ruin society. No, quite the contrary. It's another tool for the medical community and the mental health community to help people struggling with addiction. Okay. I'm going to throw this back at you for your comments, but this doesn't surprise me a bit. I'd like to see now more research on this. So, what do you guys have to say?
Well, anything that helps people stay off of harmful drugs, I think, is a big deal, especially with the fentanyl epidemic that we have in all of our major cities. Methamphetamine has always been a major plague that has been degrading, lots of families, and not just in big cities, but even in small towns. I mean, fentanyl's more in big cities, but methamphetamine has been hidden the core of the countryside homes and everything as well, and it's been very, very devastating for a lot of families.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your break into your parents' house and steal their shit kind of drug right there.
Yeah.
That's definitely the kind of stuff we should be, preaching against. It's a sign of sickness in society.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just like we've been able to, in the metaphorical body, in this sense, been able to show certain cures that other sicknesses sometimes outside the body have led to, where bolstering your endocannabinoid system is actually a benefit. Here's a scenario where, and kind of cool in an analogous way, it almost applies to society. We're actually seeing areas, proven empirical data that's showing now areas of society get healthier now when given the option. Now, we're just really talking too about accessibility, which it's been proven time and time again that one of the biggest contributing factors in being able to allow this to happen in the sense of cannabis is just simply to allow accessibility. This in some ways goes to what you like talking about, Jay, with regards to rights and how this should be something that is very much of a, in the sense of freedom and independence, something that's therefore as open source-ish as possible. And then this also goes into other areas where we can just see how attached humanity is to cannabis. I mean, the evidence is right there with our body's ability to downregulate and at times needed upregulate, but mainly downregulate cannabis receptor sites so that we have the opportunity to actually control the intake of phytocannabinoids, which is a fantastic, fascinating thing. Let me throw this back at you guys, because obviously this is something I could talk about forever, but I believe very strongly in this. I also think it's funny, and I'm not in any way endorsing cocaine, but from reading through this study, Dale, they also tested cocaine in this, and the cocaine didn't move the metric at all. Or it wasn't moved at all in the metric. It was amphetamines, yes. Tobacco use, yes, massively. Like solid integer, very, very just like clear numbers. But I thought it was interesting that other things they included in the study, like cocaine use, nothing to report back, which was, I don't know. Again, throwing that back at you guys. What do you think?
Are you saying, Nate? Are you saying that basically that people that do cocaine and smoke cannabis, that cannabis doesn't decrease their amount of cocaine they consume? Is that what you're saying?
They studied for that in an analogous way, to use that again, to what they did with methamphetamines in this study. Methamphetamines, tobacco use especially, came back with very, very significant number differences, but there was nothing to report based on my pour through of the study with cocaine, which I thought was interesting. So in a way, yes, although that's not how the study put it, Jason, yes, your statement is logically true.
Okay.
Well, but what I find fascinating here is that let's look at Ozempic and Wegovy. Okay, those started out to help people with diabetes, and they found out that hell, this takes away some of the cravings from drugs. So they just went full blast to try to figure out what's going on there. How can we put this into understanding of medical professionals dealing with addicts? How do we incorporate this into treatment? They're looking at that very seriously. But when it comes to something like this, okay, where anecdotally they're reporting back, hey, we're using less opioids, you're using less meth, we're smoking less tobacco, taking less alcohol, it's still controversial. It's like you guys, the schizophrenia here is hard to wrap your hands around because it is that. It makes no sense. We should be studying why human beings develop dependency on substances. Sugar's got to be included in that. You know, all what we to the traditional drugs. There's a lot of things humans do. You know, gambling's another one. Holy fuck! These are addictive behaviors that the endocannabinoid system is locked in like this. You cannot really separate them out. So how do you use it? Okay, to help people get tools, to stop gambling. Okay, sex addiction, to quit, stuffing your face with sugar when you're a diabetic. You know, the meth and the things that people do to get their drugs. These are complicated problems that don't get better when you ignore them and then you act in schizophrenic ways rather than, let's be honest, let's take a look at this, get all the political bullshit out of the way. Let's figure out why this does this to the brain, the perception from people, and let's teach people this. Because I've been part of NA and AA, because when I was in prison, I had to do all this shit. They're looking for anything and everything they can to help people who want, call their sponsor 2 a.m. Hey, I want to get fucking hammered. Okay, no. So this is real deal stuff. The more tools you can have, get people to not fall back into something that's self-destructive, is going to be better for us in the future. And we just keep talking about this. Oh, we can't allow weed to enter the conversation. Why not? Okay, if you go from slamming heroin to smoking weed, that should be touted as a victory. Okay, stop this stuff. We don't know what the hell to do with drugs, but we just act stupid and point fingers. We don't really fix the problem. It's sad.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on this, Stone?
I mean, nothing more to add to all that other than just, the study's a good reminder that prohibitionist policies aren't protecting public health. They're just holding it back.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
back. And stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know you'll appreciate it, we'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we covered on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And if you haven't already, make sure that you go onto our YouTube channel and make sure that you check out our video documentary on 9/11, on what actually happened. I was privileged enough to have Congressman Kurt Weldon and Congressman Dana Rohrabacher both with me to discuss all the things that happened and didn't happen on 9/11. It's about a 2-hour video, so I hope you guys enjoy and can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about it.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app,
where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfer, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
We are back, you guys, and coming up next, it's the man who's always stoned whenever he's hitting the high road, whether that's off of Delta 8, tumbleweed, or something that was freshly delivered to him by the United States Postal Workers. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Stone Slade.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Insightful introductions, buddy.
We try, bro.
All
We
right.
try.
Well, Texas did it again. Federal judge just told a couple of hemp shop owners in Abilene, sorry, folks, you're on your own. Here's what happened. Brennan and Brittany Mansky run CBD House of Healing. Like a lot of Texas hemp businesses, they've been trying to carve out a place in this messy, confusing market since the 2018 Farm Bill supposedly made hemp products legal. They built their shop around CBD and other hemp-derived products. They stocked their shelves and had customers who relied on them. Then, this past August, Abilene police showed up with a search warrant. Officers raided the place and walked out with roughly $400,000 worth of products. The Manskys said the raid was based on misinformation, bad testing, and outright lies. They argue every single item that was taken was federally legal hemp, so they sued. They asked a federal judge to step in and order the city to give back their inventory and stop any more raids. Because let's be honest, when you lose nearly $500,000 in merchandise, it's not a setback, it's a death sentence for a small business. But Judge James Wesley Hendricks said no. He ruled that it's not the federal court's job to interfere with an ongoing state criminal proceeding. He called the request for temporary restraining order an extraordinary remedy and basically said, come back when the state case is over. And in his view, financial loss does not count as irreparable harm. As for reputational damage, the judge said that it's speculative at best. That's a tough pill to swallow. Imagine having your entire store cleared out, customers left wondering if you're even legitimate, and being told, don't worry, you can fight it later. By then, later might be too late. Now let's talk about the so-called evidence. The raid relied on field kits from Safariland and lab results from National Medical Services. Both have a reputation for overestimating THC levels. The tests have been criticized for years. They're unreliable, inconsistent, and even flat out wrong. According to the lawsuit, one of the very officers involved in the raid even admitted that the tests were not solid while the raid was happening. Yet somehow those results were enough to justify wiping out a local business. And the Manskys are not alone. Another shop owner, Nate Shabane, joined the lawsuit. He hasn't been raided yet, but he's looking over his shoulder every day, wondering when it's going to be his turn. And that's the kind of this is what that kind of enforcement does. It spreads fear through an entire industry. This is the bigger problem. The disconnection between federal and state enforcement. The 2018 Farm Bill said hemp was legal if it contained less than 0.3% Delta-9 THC and should have been clear. But in Texas, the local police departments have taken it upon themselves to interpret and enforce the rules however they see fit. We have seen it with smokable hemp bans. We've seen it with THCA crackdowns. And now we're seeing it with raids based on junk science. It creates a patchwork where your business can be perfectly legal on paper and still be treated like a drug den if the wrong cops decides to test your products with the wrong kit. And let's be honest, if those kits were accurate, we wouldn't have half the wrongful arrest and lawsuits that we've seen across the country. So where does this leave the hemp industry in Texas? On shaky ground as always. The judge made it clear that the Manskys will have to keep fighting in state court first. Their products stay locked up in an evidence room. Their shop struggles to stay open, and their customers are left without access. For the rest of the hemp retailers out there, the message is pretty clear. You're on your own. Federal law will not save you. The local politics will steamroll you. And even if you can prove that you were right all along, by the time the court sorts it all out, your business might not survive. The reality of doing business in Texas right now, hemp is legal, but only until someone with the badge decides that it's not. I'm Stone Slade with the High at 9 News.
Man, Stone, this is rough, bro. $500,000 in inventory.
Ouch.
Now, I wonder if they're going to be able to get that back through their insurance, because a lot of these businesses have insurance on their product in regards, and I would be willing to file an insurance claim saying that it was stolen.
How does that work, Dale?
I don't know if I'd say that in court.
I'd do it. I have no problem with it.
They'd ask you if you filed a police report, sort of.
I mean, it's clearly documented. Yeah, I'll send them in the thing that say that they took it. You know what I mean?
There is a police report.
That's what I'm saying. There is a report. Yeah. You know, and you can.
This is designed to have a chilling effect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be blunt, Stone. They want to scare the out of the hemp industry, and at 30,000 feet, Farm Bill left states to enact some of their own local rules for dealing with hemp products. It's not an absolute, we control everything and nobody can do anything different than the feds. They made it legal for interstate commerce, but once it drops into a state like alcohol, they can have some of their own rules. And if you haven't figured this out before, the cops sometimes will do shit just so that everybody else pays attention. They'll spank somebody. I mean, I did 5 years in prison, and it was because they wanted to send a message to professionals out there around cannabis, don't do this. Well, my response was, yeah, you. I don't know if these people have, it kills them. It really does. And probable cause and things like that makes it difficult to sue because you get levels of immunity when they can argue that we had probable cause. Okay. Even though it was a shitty test, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Is that actionable? We'll wait and see. Clearly, it was a shot over the bow of the hemp industry that if we want to, we can come in and really turn your apple cart over.
Stone, what was the basis for this guy joining this class action lawsuit if he hadn't been raided himself? So then that way he doesn't have any damages currently.
Imagine just kind of a solidarity, together. If I can stand up for the community, I don't know.
Dale, is that even legit, Dale?
Well, I'm sure he's joining in a temporary restraining order or a preliminary injunction to get them to stop so that the cops can't do this. Okay? And you can file that as a separate complaint for injunctive relief and join it, or just join in the injunctive part of the complaint, try and get a statewide order that tells the cops, you can't move on this unless you do A, B, and C. And it sounds like they're being told, hey, the chances of you winning here are not clear enough that we're going to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the standard for a temporary restraining order. I'm probably going to win. If we don't stop them, this is what's going to happen to me. And as Stone said, losing money is not necessarily the irreparable harm that they're going to step up and stop, because the courts will award you money if that's what your harm is. Okay. It gets complicated, but at this point, the cops have won first round.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, what do you think about this? I mean, with the testing, Nate, because if they're admitting that their testing is flawed, we all know that their testing is flawed. These guys just want to prove false positives. I mean, because that's how they justify their existence.
It goes beyond that, in my opinion. So there's two areas that they, on the science end, might really be struggling with. Number one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be, as I go forward with this, but this might be something that you've hit me up with via text or a quick call, like just on the side or kind of thing.
Yes.
What if, okay, I remember correctly. So what if they're using, the local authorities are using anything similar to what we call gas chromatography?
Yep, they are.
Now that's the biggest question I would have. So there's two main types, and it goes well beyond these two types, but there are two main ways of being able to test cannabis potency. One of those is liquid chromatography study, and one of those is gas chromatography. Now, gas chromatography, essentially, the instrument itself is basically a big oven. It's going to
bake it,
volatilize,
basically, right?
Yeah, it's going to cook the chemicals.
Yeah,
exactly. And in doing so, anything that would have been represented as THCA on the other type of test, liquid chromatography, which that's usually referred to as an HPLC, and the HPLC test will resolve the difference between Delta 9 THC, which is the cooked version, or the slightly decarboxylated version that will be present. And that's the metric of 0.3% that people are trying to stay below, right? And the rest of it's THCA. The problem is with the logic of calling this stuff hemp, of course, is that if that THCA gets cooked, it's regular Delta 9. In fact, regular cannabis, any cannabis you've ever seen, the cannabis I just ground down a few moments ago, it's all THC cannabis. That's just how it grows. Being able to suggest that 0.3% threshold exists only for Delta 9 is attempting to find a loophole through a poorly written law that's not going to give you the full understanding of the matter. Because the full understanding of the matter is that if it's hemp, 0.3% threshold isn't actually a big deal. If it's dominantly CBD, it's normal for the total amount of THC, both the Delta 9 that's slightly decarboxylated, as well as the total amount of THCA that's present in the plant anyways. It's kind of normal for that to be below 1%, or in this case, 0.3%. That's why the law was written like that, was to be able to create a threshold and distinguish the difference between hemp and cannabis, so to speak. Now, in this case, we're so many fucking steps down the line, and we're seeing the result of people twisting that law and saying that 0.3% should only apply to the Delta 9. Well, guess what? Scenario number one, the local authorities test it with a GCMS. Now it's all Delta 9. You're fucked, right? That's what you and I talked about before. Scenario number two, which I've pointed out before as well, is that this stuff continues to decarboxylate. It's a version of it breaking down, and it will decarboxylate into Delta 9 given time. Even light amounts of heat, room temperature amounts of heat, it will break down any amount of light, assuming it's in any kind of a jar. So any combination of these factors is going to cause it to oxidize, break down, decarboxylate, and all of a sudden that lab report that maybe said that you didn't have 0.3%, maybe it said you had 0.29%. Well, you can kiss that shit goodbye, because even if these guys had accurate testing, they would have found out that all of this inventory that you had, your loophole no longer applied. Funny enough, it applied at the time of testing, but people don't possess enough knowledge to know that it actually can chemically continue to break down. Oftentimes, the people with whom I've seen a need to test this stuff will sometimes prematurely pick some of it off of the plant in order to test it, just to get lower Delta 9, higher THCA numbers, so they can now use that premature test result to be able to display how the entire crop looks. Well, guess fucking what? The rest of the crop doesn't look like that picture perfect. Again, a loophole. And this is why it's so fucked up, is because this loophole doesn't really agree with science or how cannabis works. And what are we seeing as a result? They're fucked, in my opinion. There's so many mechanisms that have existed for dozens of years that would have told them that this was a bad idea, because these things are going to happen, and the basis of their argument is going to evaporate. And that's exactly what the fuck just happened. I feel for them, but science is not on their side. Neither is logic.
People pick flowers early in the grow process. What?
100% dude. I am telling you that those lab reports are. Well, I mean, if you give people it's a path of least resistance thing. What did we learn recently in Canada is companies get to submit their own buds that suggest what the percentage for the entire batch is.
Yeah.
So, I hear you.
Last hemp farm I represented, that's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
We went there and we picked select flowers out of a 5-acre field, took them to a testing lab, and guess what? They were below 0.3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not a COA. That was something to help keep the cops away. And I want to point out again, the cops did this with cop logic.
Yep.
Okay, they knew they could get you.
Mm-hmm.
That they get you charged criminally. Now you're probably going to negotiate something, especially if there's a chance you might get some of the shit back before it goes rancid. Okay, and this is timed to be a deterrent effect to everybody else. They don't give two shits about any of this stuff. They just want the industry to know if we choose to do this, we can, and then a lot you can do to stop us. That's not a good feeling. The legislature could fix this, but as you know, Texas is just, they're walking around in circles there trying to figure out what to do about this. And it's not helping the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And the police still have a considerable amount of power, and it's impossible to sue them. If there's any reasonable grounds for what they did, and wink, wink, nod, nod, we know it's going to go through gas testing and it's going to come out positive, and you're fucked. So now they may drop the criminal charges, but you're not getting this $500,000 loss back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, since there's criminal activity involved, most insurance companies have, restrictions in their policy from paying for alleged criminal damage from criminal activity you engaged in. So I don't like seeing this, but hey, it's kind of what they did to me.
Yeah.
I want everyone to see we're going to kick your ass in public,
mm-hmm.
and don't do this. And now what are they going to do? I don't know. Top tactic.
Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Yes, and we are back, and we are going to roll right in to Mr. Nate Winokur. Nate has been a founder of a couple testing labs and has been unjustly subject to the DCC and all of their crazy, nefarious complaints that they want to say about operators in the cannabis space here in California. And he's now doing his own content with Teaching Bud, where you can find on YouTube and social media pages, so make sure you check it out. It is none other than Mr. Nate Winokur.
Thank you for the introduction, my friend.
Yes.
I would like to bring to all of your attention a kind of, I've been trying to stick to happy stories, and this one is titled Cannabis Health and MCCS, which is in the UK, to bring a vital Clinician-Led educational event to healthcare professionals. And it goes on to say, the Cannabis Health Symposium, which just has a beautiful ring to it, taking place at Conway Hall in London on November 25th, will welcome some of the pioneers in the prescribing of cannabis-based medicines in the UK to share their insights and clinical experience. The CPD-accredited event, which will provide education on the role of medical cannabis in a range of chronic conditions, is designed to equip more clinicians with the confidence and tools to integrate these medicines into their practice to increase access and improve care for thousands of patients. It says while over 60,000 patients are now being prescribed in the UK, only about 160 specialist consultants are actively prescribing. As awareness of medical cannabis grows, clinicians play a fundamental role in enabling more patients to potentially benefit from these treatments. Yet despite a growing awareness of the medicinal properties of cannabis and the role of the endocannabinoid system in numerous chronic conditions, the ECS is still not widely taught in the UK medical schools, nor in the US, creating a significant knowledge gap in the wider healthcare sector. The MCCS now has over 500 members and provides independent education, training, and peer support for healthcare professionals with an interest in the field of cannabis medicines. And some of the earliest adopters of medical cannabis, they will be sharing their insights and clinical experience after almost 7 years of treating these patients. Among other topics, experts will present evidence for the use of cannabis medicine and indications such as psychiatry, neurodivergence, dementia, and neurodegenerative conditions, as well as women's health. There will also be the opportunity to hear firsthand patient perspectives about the real-world impact of these medicines, alongside content designed to develop and expand the knowledge base of existing prescribers. The MCCS will deliver workshops throughout the day aimed at those who are new to cannabis-based medicine but interested in how this could enhance their practice. And this is considered a significant step forward. The symposium has been dubbed just that, in bringing vital education to the sector. And it is one of the first prescribers of cannabis medicine in the UK the chair is one of the first prescribers of cannabis-based medicines in the UK, which is Professor Mike Barnes. He says, "I'm looking forward to this conference, which has been badly needed for some time." Who will also present the organization's good practice guidelines, which have been developed to give doctors and regulators confidence in compliant prescribing. He goes on to say clinicians need to meet face-to-face to learn from each other, listen to experts, and gain confidence in their practice. Clinician education is vital in this sector where there's so much to learn and, frankly, so many prejudices to overcome. He added, "I know this will be a significant step forward for clinicians and thus eventually benefit many thousands of people with long-term disabling conditions." And so this is going to be happening this November in the UK. This is something that I can't stress enough. Man, this is necessary. We have seen so many and discussed in individual findings, so many different discoveries, confirmations, needs that should be known with cannabis. And this is actually a symposium with doctors to tell them what they need to know. This is actually some of the people that, with due cause, the rest of the world listens to and pays attention to with regards to what we should be doing with our health. And they will finally be exposed to the good sides of cannabis. My name is Nate. I came to educate, and this is the High at 9 News. Please tell me what you think.
Man, you know, I'm skeptical, Nate. I'm skeptical. I'm not sure if they are really going to be as transparent as you're saying, and this could be just something that's put on by Project Sam and whatnot, and they're just going to pump more misinformation. How do we know that that's not really going to happen?
There's only a small cross-section of people who are allowed to and matched with daring enough to be currently prescribing cannabis in the UK. It is not something that is taken lightly like it is here. If I recall from the article, there are only about 130 people who do that. And this is essentially an opportunity for that small few to educate now many, many others.
Okay, so it's only going to be the doctors that are currently prescribing cannabis in the UK, but the UK has a very restrictive program at the same time too, and it's almost basically like a default Schedule 3 type of situation in the UK, where, you know, they don't allow flour. It's all, you know what I'm saying, manufactured products pretty much only. And so
I think you're right, but now the people who surround the parliament and people who make those laws are now actually going to get, for one could argue the first time, properly educated. We know how trite the education is here in the U.S. It's suggested in this article, although I'm not as familiar with medical practice in the UK, that it's at least comparable. And now we're seeing the right thing done about it. I can't underline enough how much that should be talked about. Now, maybe it will be more impotent than we're all hoping, but here's to hoping not. And here's to hoping that those people who should have been given a platform a long freaking time ago are actually given that in order to work.
Interesting.
Well, I think if the knee-jerk reaction in the medical community is not to, you know, we're not going to talk about this. That, oh, you use cannabis, let's see how you're using it. And imparting to these physicians and prescribers and medical practitioners a rudimentary understanding of the ECS and how the different, you know, endocannabinoids are mimicked by phytocannabinoids and what that seems to do, and then the methods of administration. Those are the basics. I mean, I've been to these conferences. I've spoken at these conferences before. It's amazing the absence of understanding in the medical community. When you go through neurobiology in medical school, and my ex-wife was a physician, going way back, you know, a long time in the family, and I've been in these courses myself. They talk about, you know, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. Talk about the basal level of the brain and how there's receptors in there and why you're going to be concerned about it. But we know that much and more about the ECS. And they're not teaching this to physicians. It's like, yeah, this mimics anandamide. Okay, here's where the CB1 receptors are. This is what we see it happening. This is what ghrelin is as far as appetite and appetite suppression. So that they have the global understanding. And then when your patient sits down and tells you, you're not in the dark. Okay? Because I've represented enough physicians and I've had these discussions with them. And the classic for us, when Molly and I talked to her oncologist about smoking weed when she was going to get chemo, this guy literally turned pale. The metaphor I use is his asshole snapped shut like a cigar cutter. He was afraid to even talk about the subject. That's stupid for a medical practitioner. Even if your client's slamming heroin, okay, they should not be in the dark about what they're doing and try to help direct them to places where they can be healthier in what they're doing. Cannabis doesn't cause all those personal and public health issues. So I think it's a good thing. In the United States, the Society of Cannabis Clinicians has been around for a quarter of a century. I was their first general counsel. I know that they're doing this stuff in the United States. It's a good thing to do it in all of the medical societies around the world because the ECS has been there, as far as we know, since we bred with Neanderthals. Fuck, I don't know when it started, but it's been around for a minute. This plant's been around for a minute. People have been using it for literally. The Chinese wrote about it 5,000 years ago.
Yep. Exactly right.
Stop being so deliberately and willfully stupid about this and talk to people like they're human beings, because smoking pot relieves a lot of things that people turn alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs of despair about. And we need to understand that it's not going away. We need to have our patients be able to talk to you honestly about what they're doing without the fear that you're going to, you know, turn them in or rat them out or not take care of them after that with other medical problems. And that's a fear patients have still in talking to their doctors.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want to take care of you again, or now I think you're a drug addict. I'm looking at you in a different way.
Yep.
There's no place with cannabis medicine for that kind of mentality. So if it can fix that or work towards ending that, I'm all for it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And any thoughts on this, Stone?
Oh man, just more of the same. You know, I hope it's well received. I hope it has good attendance. I hope the doctors that attended go in with an open mind and you know, take it seriously. And you know, maybe it's the first steps for over there to opening up a more, you know, a broader, more natural program. I don't know. We'll
Fair
see.
enough. Fair enough. All I have to say is, weed for the people on that, Stone. You know what I'm saying? Weed for the people. Yeah. Hopefully that works out. Or hopefully that works out well for them in the UK with this, and they can get some positive information. I'm still a little skeptical, but I ultimately am hoping for the best for the education out there. But I just know that I've seen this movie a few times, and so I kind of know how it ends, and so that's just what I'm already anticipating until, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. I am happy to be proven wrong. That is for sure. But speaking of, sad things, I have one final story for you guys today. This is a triggering tale, so I'm just warning you ahead of time, Stone. So I don't want you to
Thanks.
I don't want you to start crying or anything.
Get some tissues.
Yeah, exactly. Because U.S. Senator Rand Paul says he's very fearful the entire hemp industry could be made illegal within the next 2 weeks, he says. Oh, man. In an interview with the Dills report, Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky said that he's very fearful that the entire hemp industry could be made illegal within the next 2 weeks, he says. In the interview that aired, Senator Rand Paul said he's very fearful that the whole industry could be made illegal within the next 2 weeks, saying that those who oppose to move need to be calling their senators and congressmen right now. Senator Paul added that he believes there's no reason to make this illegal, adding, "Can't we figure out a way to regulate it without prohibiting it?" One of the show's hosts responded by asking, "Wow, so you really think the next 2 weeks that's a real possibility?" And Paul said, "It may be 2, 3, 4 weeks, but it could happen with the spending bill that's happening within the next week. It also could happen in a conference committee report." He said, "I'd prefer that we do nothing for now and send us back to committee and study it for a year and not be too rash, so we don't ruin the industry," he added. In July, both the House and the Senate Appropriations Committees approved a spending bill that included a ban on hemp-derived THC products, a ban so strict that some argued it would ban all hemp products. And the provision was later blocked in the Senate by Senator Rand Paul, but he says that block may not hold. In a quote, "I was able to block the language completely for now, and the House language passed out of committee with language we think would prohibit hemp, and we think end the hemp industry." End quote right there. Paul said the two chambers are going to a conference committee to work on the two versions of the spending bill, saying, "I've asked the leaders who will be on this conference committee, will they conference about the hemp issue? And they said yes, which is kind of extraordinary. So there's still some fear that the prohibitionist language will be in there." But Paul added, "I've talked to a lot of players on this and tried to convince them to change the language, and we've at least had an audience and presented things. None of it is exactly to my liking, but it is less bad. And we're hoping for less bad right now, and we're trying to do everything we can to stop it from being prohibited," he says. Well, all I got to say is you better call your congressmen and call your senators, because otherwise Senator Rand Paul is sounding the alarm. And I know Senator Rand Paul personally, and he's not known for being alarmist, but he is known for when he says something, I do expect people to do it. And if people don't do it, don't say you didn't hear it here first. And can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Yeah, he's not an alarmist, and he's also very pro the hemp industry.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is big news coming from him. Better believe it. Get on the phones, do what you can. Sound the alarm for sure. That's terrible news.
It's not good news. I told you it wasn't good news, Stone. I told you I wasn't sure if you were going to start crying or not.
Not going to cry, but man,
okay.
that's some bad news.
Yeah.
especially after a somewhat of a victory in Texas with the governor's executive order.
Yep.
This would just be, man.
I wonder.
I can come up with a Daleism for it. I don't know, man. On a wall. I don't know. It'd be terrible.
Fair enough. I wonder if part of this is because of the fact of the possibility of Schedule 3 going into effect, and this possible big pharma takeover that's looming the cannabis space, and this would be their way to just kind of group it all in and make it real easy for big pharma to just kind of control everything. That's a possibility.
Very possible.
Yeah.
True.
Well, this is all about who's got the most money to lobby who.
Mm-hmm.
And pharma wins hand down on that.
Yep.
Even the hemp industry doesn't have the kind of money to lobby that the pharmaceutical industry does. And, it's an unfair fight. And right now the politics are not real good to cooperate to get much done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting to see how the spending bill is. They're going to get another CR, kick that down the road, because all of our protections for cannabis go away overnight.
Mm-hmm.
If the Congress doesn't do the right things with these spending bills. And, right now politics is just basically very toxic. And an industry's up and running. I don't know if you can find anyone who's died from the hemp industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can't find it from the cannabis industry, but we're concerned about what here? Not public health and safety. People aren't dying from this. As much as we want it to be safe and tested and blah, blah, people aren't dying because, you can't overdose and kill yourself with cannabinoids. It's just impossible. But we fight about shit like this is alcohol and heroin, when in fact, it's in a different zip code. But, that you don't get through with logic in these kind of toxic political times we're in right now. It's sad.
It's a sad state of affairs, and again, I do want to encourage everybody to call their congressmen, call their senators. I would say more or less call your senators overall. You know what I mean? Because this, it's a lot easier to block things in the Senate than it is in the House. There's a lot fewer members, plus the Senate operates on unanimous consent. And so, if Rand Paul can build a coalition of individuals on this, then that's I think is probably the best way that we can go about this. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai are somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.